Okay, in this video, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about what is a conditional sentence. So let's just start with that right now. A conditional sentence equals a sentence that says, if this happens, then that happens. If this happens, then that happens. Let me give you an example because that's the best way to make this clear, I think. So, I might say, if it rains, well, I think I need to get a better marker here. If it rains, the streets will get wet. So, here, this is a conditional sentence. I'm saying, if this happens, if it rains, then this happens. The streets will get wet. Let me give you another example. I might say, let's say that I know that every time my sister goes to the store, she buys milk, okay? She drinks a lot of milk, let's say. So every time she goes to the store, she buys milk. Another conditional sentence might be, if my sister went to the store yesterday, she bought some milk. So, again, this sentence is saying, if this happened, if she went to the store, then that happened. She bought some milk. Okay? So, most conditional sentences, you might have noticed, use the word if. There are other ways we can say the same idea. Chapter 20 mentions a few of those, but nearly all of the time, say 99% of the time, a conditional sentence in English will use the word if. Okay? Let me just write that on the board. Important fact. Let me circle here. Conditional sentences almost always use the word if. Okay. Now, I think I'm just going to make this a very short video. So we've had two ideas so far. We've talked about the idea that we're talking about now, which is, what's a conditional sentence? Now you know what a conditional sentence is. In the last video, we talked about how do I show imagination in English? How do English speakers signal I'm talking about my imagination? In the next video, well, let me back up. This chapter 20, is mostly about putting those two together. Conditional sentences that show imagination. But the next chart in the book, 22, which is the one I'm going to talk about next, doesn't deal with imagination. It's talking about conditional sentences for things that are real, not in my imagination. Then in the next chart, chart 23, we'll start to talk about what the chapter is really exploring, which is how do I talk about imaginary sentences or imaginary ideas in conditional sentences, in sentences that have the idea of if. And if that's a little confusing right now, don't worry too much. I think it will become clear as we go. So, I'm going to end this video now. And then in the next video, I'm going to start talking a little bit about how do I write how do I say conditional sentences? How do I say if this happens, that happens, when I'm talking about real things? I'll give you a hint. It's very, very, very easy. Okay, I'll be right back.